Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Barbecue episode 311, brought to you by Advent Games and our patrons. No, you haven't gone back a week. It is episode 311, not 310. I've just been lucky enough to host two episodes in a row. And I have, let's face it, my two big brothers of the show on here with me. Two of the guys who've been here from the beginning with me, which is always awesome. We've got Dan in Melbourne. How you going, Dan?
Very well, Condog. How are you today, buddy?
I'm good. It's Saturday. We're actually recording today. Today, so it's nice-ish outside.
It's miserable outside, so it's miserable here.
It's miserable here too.
I'm happy to be on the pod and not trying to battle the rain, trying to mow the lawn or anything.
But a man who, whether it is sunny outside, his disposition always is. We got Mitch up in Sydney. How you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing well, Conor, my deep-voiced brethren. How are you going?
I'm glad you said deep-voiced this time.
I might just make the point that Sydney today is beautiful, fine, blue, sunny skies, mid-20s in temperature. It's, going all right.
We have seasons down here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
All four of them every day.
Yeah.
Well, seeing as I want to live in something larger than a matchbox, I don't think I'm going to move to Sydney anytime soon with the house prices and all your mansions out there. But, we're not here to talk about houses or weather or Mitch's disposition, although I could do that all day. We're here to talk about some board games. This is cool because I have heard or played of most of the games that you guys are going to be talking about today, which is pretty cool. So I might kick off with Dan to tell us about a game that I'm keen to hear about. I believe you always do a bit of solo work, but this one here is a kind of newish solo game.
Yeah, it's one that's piqued my interest. I've heard about it around the traps. It's called A Gentle Rain, and the way it's being kind of pushed as being like a meditative game, very sort of simple, just play it at your own pace kind of game. And it's a very slow. The rule book even says get comfortable, takes a few deep breaths, and the theme is that you're growing a lake with these lily pads, and you're doing it during the rain. And essentially, what you're putting down is just these tiles, these random tiles, and trying to match up the flowers on these lily pads. And every time you get a match, you get to place a matching blossom in between the four lily pads. If you can match up the flowers on all four lily pads, you get to put a blossom right in the middle of it. And you've got 8 blossoms. And the idea is to try and place all 8 blossoms before you run out of tiles. I think there's about 32 tiles that come in the box. And it's really cool. I wouldn't say it's anything that's going to set the world on fire, but for something that you just want to just chill out, if you want to maybe play something, get it. Quite often, I'll finally get to the end of the night and I've been working and then have dinner, muck around with the kids, put the kids to bed, and I just want to play something, but I don't want to burn my brain at all, but I also want to go to bed feeling as though I've got a bit of board gaming out of my system for the day. This is the kind of thing you can knock it out in 10, 15 minutes. You can play a couple of games back to back. It is just a simple beat your last score, which is why if you record your scores in something like BG Stats or after game, it's really cool because then you can see how well you did last time, and your score is essentially how many blossoms you successfully placed in your lake. And if you manage to place all 8 blossoms, then you also add how many tiles are left in the pile as well, and that's essentially your score. But in terms of just really chill games, it kind of meets the brief. It's called A Gentle Rain. It comes in a really small box, but the components are kind of cool. It's a really the lily pads are quite thick card. The blossoms are really nice little wooden tokens, and for a small box game that plays in under sort of 15 minutes, I think it's a really cool game.
It's funny how you say it's like a mindful experience because the colours even make it seem like that as well. Like they're really kind of cool colours, calming colours. There's nothing bright or super clashing. It does have that vibe of something sitting on a lake, really still lake, and even the process of finding a match or making links and things like that. I think that in itself is a way for you to relax because you're finding simple patterns or whatever, and that process I kind of akin it to like colouring in. I'm finding a colour that matches and whatever, and filling in certain areas. So, I've thought about picking this one up and just having it there, even at my desk at work. If I just need a spell or whatever.
And I'll be honest, sometimes I'm a little bit skeptical of those things. It's like, oh, this is a game to help you unwind and meditate. I'm like, oh, sounds a bit wanky. And then you get halfway through it and you go, I'm so relaxed playing this game. This is like super chill. And it's the same thing with coloring. It's like when the whole mindfulness, the adult coloring books came out, I'm like, oh, righto. Who's going to sit down and play it? And who's going to sit down and do a coloring book? But once you start it, you can't help but just get lost in those adult coloring books. It's the same thing. Mindfulness is something that I probably don't appreciate as much as I should. And next thing you know, I'm onto the third or fourth page on my coloring book. Just don't talk to me. I'm just concentrating. I've just lost 2 hours coloring. So, I think these kind of games do have a position in the hobby, and they can be quite good.
I'm just having a look at it. I think I remember when this first came out. I think it went to Kickstarter, but then like after the first print run, it was pretty popular, and then it was a bit hard to get for a little while. Maybe like while they were building up to do like a second print run. I think it kind of slid off my radar, but it looks good. I'm just looking
even for something like a gift for family members or parents or something like that. Dare I say, someone, if you got elderly relatives that don't do much, and if they're just sitting by the TV, and you can get them to give this something.
Well, Nana if they'd like it, right?
Nana in her nursing home, might enjoy something like this as well. But yeah.
My nan still beats me at cards, so there's no way she would be like, well, who do I beat at this game? Like, am I going to beat you? It's like, well, you can, I guess. Like, she smashes me at rummy and euchre. She's just a beast. So that was A Gentle Rain. I did see it a while popping up in the different solo games, sort of Facebook groups and things like that. So that's when it piqued my interest. And when you had that down there, Dan, I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool. Mitch, I want you to tell me about a game. I want to know your opinion on the game Wandering Towers, because I've played it. I really like it.
Yep.
Dan's just put his hand up to say, me too. And I think I played it at a Melbourne game day. Joe taught it to me. And then it was so easy that I taught it to someone else. So how did you find it?
Yeah, right. It seems like Joe's the guy, right? Because he taught it to us at 80s pre-Brisbane game day game extravaganza or whatever they call it. Which is where I kind of was like, it never really piqued my interest. I was like, little game, gnomes, quirky little towers, whatever. But then, everyone was playing, and I said, right, I'll jump in. And I immediately thought, this would be a brilliant family game. Like, I could just see my kids playing it with us and everyone getting into it. It's got a little bit of that take daddy thing, but not enough to be, disappointing. Like, it doesn't hurt, when you get tower squashes on top of you. But so I had immediately, like literally on the day while playing, I went to buy a copy and it was not available. And again, you couldn't get it anywhere. It was sold out super quick, and then it was on back order all over the place. So I was waiting. And then Jace from our community, Jace that runs our Jackbox parties and stuff, he posted about the fact that he'd picked up a copy. And I was like, what? How did you get a copy? I've been waiting. And he said, well, it's just come back in. There's a few places who've got it now. So I jumped straight online and grabbed a copy. And it just so happens that a couple of days after that, Jace was coming up to Sydney. So Jace popped around and he brought his copy because mine hadn't arrived yet. And we sat down and we played it with the family. And it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. There was 6 of us, I think, played it, because I think it plays up to 6, or it's quite like it's a reasonably good high play count, especially for like families. And we sat around and played that, and everyone loved it. Everyone from Layla, the youngest, who's 14, up to myself, who's the oldest. But yes, we all had a blast. There was much laughs to had, and it kind of like, it wasn't really clear who was going to win. Like I think Jace got his first meeple into the end tower, and then of course then the tower starts to move and things, and then everything really starts to shake up. And almost out of nowhere, Ethan was like, "Right, there's my," like within 3 turns, he'd gone bang, 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 and all these meeples were in the tower, and then he had to spend his potions. But once you get your 3 meeples in there, it's almost like, filling your bottles is relatively easy once you've done that. So yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. And then my copy arrived the next day, and I think it's something that's going to stay on my shelf for the foreseeable future. It'll be one that the family will always enjoy.
We were calling it when you would move the towers and then jump on the wizards. We were like calling it like making wizard juice because like squishes the wizards or the gnomes and fills up the flask. Yeah, and you're right. It's pretty quick, and if you're clever enough in terms of using your potions and the time you use the spells and things like that, you can actually get some pretty cool turns going. And I just love that whole thing of when someone's really close to being able to, pretty reasonably get their last or second last wizard into the tower, and then it shifts, the Raven's tower shifts. Like that's really fun. It's pretty silly, but yeah, it is a whole heap of fun.
I've only ever played it also with the recommended starter spells. Yep. But I've looked through the rule book and I've read some of those other spells that you can add in there, and I'm like, they will be crazy good fun. Like, being able to move the towers backwards, and forwards and things like that. And I thought, I can't wait to play it more and just get some of those different spells in now that everyone knows how to play and has a general idea of what the game is. I think they'll really shake it up a bit too and make it just that much better.
Yeah, so that was Wandering Towers. Like I said, it is back in stock in a few places, which is.
I remember looking for it after I played at Adrian's as well, and there was only the expansions available and not the core set. So, but I remember just completely losing track of where it's like the P in the shell game, isn't it? After a while, it's like, I don't know where my wizards are anymore. And it's like you move the tower, and it's like, it's under here. Ah, crap! No, it's not there. It's not. And then later on, it's like, how did it get over there? Like, okay, I've completely lost track of where my wizards are.
It's kind of funny, right? Because we all played That's Not a Hat together. And I think you can agree. I was terrible at that game. I just was like, I would get something from Mitch and I'd be like, thanks for passing me this baguette, Mitch. And it wasn't a baguette. It was like, I don't know, a watch or something like that. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's clearly a different type of memory or awareness. I actually feel like I'm not too bad at those ones. I think because it's like a limited space that they can beat, right? Like as soon as if you're placing the wizards anywhere on the board, there's only like a certain amount. Whereas like with the That's Not a Hat, like the cards can go anywhere, and it's like, oh, whereabouts at the table are they anyway? It's just a different type of memory.
That just sounds like an excuse for being bad at That's Not a Hat, Conor.
Mate, we know I'm full of excuses, and I need a lot of them because I'm bad at so many games. The next game I'm going to talk about, I might need Dan's help with this one because he actually sizzled this reasonably recently.
Earlier in the year,
earlier in the year, and it's on BGA, so I was like, I have to give this a go. So I've played a couple of games of it solo, which I quite like playing roll and rights and flip and rights, whatever, solo, because it's something that's fun to do, and that is draft and write records. So I went through a phase a little while ago. Oh, actually, when I say a little while ago, that's pretty liberal. 2 or 3 years ago, well, I just bought every single roll and write that was coming out, and I have a box of unplayed roll and writes and things like that. And so when Dan, said, "Oh, there's this flip and write coming out, it's really good, the production's fantastic," and then you're explaining it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's something that I would really like to try," because looking at the score sheet, and I'm a bit, how can you say? I'm a bit judgmental when it comes to roll and rights now. I like to look at the score sheet and what you mark off, and that's how I determine if I want to play it, because that's a game, right? When you play roll and rights, the combos and the connections, that's the game. And when I saw that mechanic of when you play the card, depending on what you pick, and you then have the 4 different options to try and link it, all of a sudden my brain's like, I can see how this is going to be amazing. And then even doing like an introductory turn, which is kind of set up. So I learned the solo mode on BGA. They sort of have this tutorial now, which is really good. And they were like, oh, but now you get to do this, and now you get to do this, and now you get to this. And I was like, oh, this gives me that feeling of, the Hadrian's Wall feeling, the Fleet the Dice game feeling of I'm just going to be able to pick and choose and just so many options. And they even had that the mechanic of in Welcome To, where if you can't use the card, you get penalized, which I think is really good as well, because then you've got to put forward thinking into, all right, I've got to make sure that I'm leaving certain sections full, or I've got to make sure that I can play a card into an area. And even having the whole concept of you've got one lead singer. So you got one lead singer, and they're there. Then you got the band members, and you got the roadies and the producers. I thought that was really, really thematic, and it sort of just flows so well. And even like having to move you can't go to a tour until you've marked it off. So it's like, I've got to play that gig, but you don't always have to play gigs in a particular order. Like, you can go in a different direction as well. Yeah, it was really, really fun, and it gave me that itch to play some more roll and writes again. So, I'm
really pleased you enjoyed it. It's funny. I remember hearing some criticism back when it came out, because it's not one of those roll and writes where, like you say, Hadrian's Wall, some of our favorite ones, where this will then get you that, we should get you this, we'll get you that. Sometimes in draft and write records, what you do you'll get two different bonuses. And then sometimes when you do one of those bonuses, you'll get you two more. And so some of the criticism was that there's too much going on. You lose track of, it's hard to keep track of what you have and haven't marked off. But for me, that makes the game even better, because it's not just a cascading. This A gets you B, a B can get you C. A gets you B and C. C might get you D, E, F. And suddenly you're doing 10 different things out of selecting a single card. And that's brilliant.
Would you say there's a certain degree of combatasticity?
You know what? I would absolutely say there is a degree of combo. In fact, it's quite a high degree of combatasticity, Mitch.
Right, that's good. It sounds like it's up my alley then.
Hashtag combatasticity, trademarked Mitch Keddy, 2023.
I love it, and the fact that it's colors, it's color based as well. So you're trying to form those harmonies. I think they're referred to try and get those synergies in your band. Yeah, it's a real winner. We still get it out and play it, and I still do play it quite often with people in the community on BGA as well.
I reckon you could even start to tell, and that would have nothing to do with the game whatsoever, but like a story about what type of band they are, and if they're like more of an electronica type of band, you could do because I've got all these producers, it's like, it's more like Daft Punk or something like that, or just silly stuff that you could do.
Well, there is a space on the score pad on BGA as well to name your band at the top.
Oh, yeah, excellent.
I always name my band the Trough Lollies. Trough Lollies.
Like a urinal cake. I've never heard it referred to Wow. Well, I don't quite know how to follow that up, but what I want to know is what you thought of Bandita, Dan.
Oh, Bandita has been a massive hit in our house. So one of my favorite little small box games. Again, it's not an Oink game. It's a game from, I'm just putting myself, Helvetic, but it's the same size as the Oink games, like Scout and Drop Ultra and all of those. And it was, I want to say maybe about 2019, 2020. It was a game called Bandita that came out, which was about this bandit that's in a jail and it's digging its way out, and you have a whole deck of cards that you have to play tunnels, and you're looking for opportunities to seal off those tunnels and seal off this bandito's escape. And then in 2022, a newer version came out called Bandita. And Bandita actually cranks it up a notch, because now with the cards that you place, and it's a cooperative game, you can play solo or you can play with a group of people. There's also added objects and gear on the card. So as you place a tunnel down, it may have a backpack, which allows you to increase your hand from 3 to 4. It may have there's another tool, which is a broken shovel. So, and some of the cards with the broken shovels are really good cards to place down to extend the tunnel, but then block certain things off. So you're trying to trap this bandita from escaping. But the broken shovel means that you have to play every single card in your hand now, and you can't draw anymore until you've exhausted them. So if you've got a really crappy card in your hand that you haven't deliberately placed because it's going to open up 3 more branches that you don't want to do in the tunnel system, you must play it before you can redraw up to 3. I've been playing. I'm not going to go on about it because it's a very simple game and many people know about Bandito. But Bandita, I think, is probably, if you don't have it, Bandita is a great one to pick up. There's also a couple of other ways to play the game. So the base game is really what you're trying to do is just close off all the tunnels and and contain Bandita from escaping before you exhaust the entire deck. There's now a card that has a ladder in it, and so you're essentially playing the role of the Bandita, and you're trying to escape by closing off all the tunnels except for one, which has a ladder at the end. So if you get halfway through the game and you've closed off almost all the tunnels, but you still haven't come across the ladder card yet, then you don't want to seal it off. You've got to try and keep navigating your way through the system, but not opening up too many branches, so that when you do get that ladder card, you place the ladder card down. That's your way out. All the other tunnels have been closed off and you escape. So that's an interesting twist. And then there is even a way to play it where you can combine the original Bandito with Bandita. And the Bandito card, because I'm pretty sure the original Bandito, when it came out, the central card, which has two sides, it has the Bandito trapped in a prison with 5 tunnels, and then the flip side has 6. It's just a simple card, whereas the Bandita, it's an actual bit of cardboard. So you can take the Bandito central card, slip it into the deck for Bandita, and as you're playing, you need to then make sure that the tunnels connect between the Bandito and the Bandita, and they escape together. Such a romantic story. So I just love the fact that they've taken this quite popular, simple game Bandito, cranked it up a notch by adding some gear, adding a couple other different ways to play the game, and giving it a lot more versatility. We've been playing it with the boys. The boys actually got it out a couple of times on their own one morning before school and just played it, because it is really, really good cooperative. You're not supposed to show each other what cards you've got when you've got a hand of 3 each. You're not supposed to go, oh no, don't go there because I've got a good one for that branch there. You're not supposed to give that. But there are certain, I think there is a water bottle gear, which means no communication whatsoever, and for a certain number of turns. So there's a few different things that mix it up. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of Bandito. Again, it's on Board Game Arena if you're interested in checking it out. You can play it solo, you can play it with other people. And because it is a sort of, already at its heart is a no communication or very limited communication game, it plays really well across Board Game Arena. But we picked up Bandita recently. We've been playing it a whole bunch, and we really, really love it.
That's interesting how it's not an expansion, but you can use it with the previous game as well. Like that happens a lot with campaign games, or I guess role-playing games, whatever. It's like, oh, you can play this together, but it doesn't happen all that much where you have an expand alone.
The only time I can think of it happening was when Scorpion Mask brought out Zombie Teens Evolution on their website. You could actually download the rules and a way to incorporate Zombie Kids Evolution and Zombie Teens Evolution together and play a bigger story, which was kind of cool. I must mention as well, I do remember talking about this on the pod probably about 2 or 3 years ago. It's weird to even say that. But during COVID, Helvetic on their website, they published a free print and play, and it was a coronavirus themed version of the game, where instead of a Bandito that was trying to escape, it was a coronavirus, and all the different exits, instead of being a security guard with a flashlight, it was washing hands, wearing a mask, and it was a thing for parents to download for their kids, so you could play it at home with your kids, but also reinforce how to keep yourself safe and keep your family safe during the coronavirus times, which I thought was really, really cool.
That's a weird, like when you said a coronavirus, sometimes people have bought things out not to cash, well, I guess maybe to cash in, but it sounds educational, which is... Well,
exactly. It was a free print and play as well, so...
Well, they're not making any money off that either.
Outside of exposing people to the game itself, but I thought that was really clever.
They should have put a coupon in it where you can cash in the coupon for a game. That'd be good. Hey, Mitch, you've played an absolute classic recently too in Survive Escape from Atlantis. Man, this game, we have had some cracking games of this with my family. Again, another sort of take that is stitching people up, just so much fun.
I'm starting to think that my family are just a bunch of backstabbers who just want to, hurt people, which is probably understandable.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
But yeah, we did. It was actually Father's Day, I think. Because I had the old Father's Day, we'll do what I say, and you're all guilted into playing along. So we cracked out a game of Survive Escape from Atlantis, which I haven't played the space one. but I just feel like the island one's better. I don't know why.
Yeah. Let's run with that. That's the Board Game Barbecue podcast view. Sorry, the rest of the crew. That's
based on absolutely no evidence or research whatsoever. The island one is better.
Based on vibe, just the vibe.
Just a vibe. If you've played the space one and you disagree with me, then you're wrong. So the premise, the general idea of the Survive Escape from Atlantis, if you haven't played it before, is that you start out with a bunch of meeples that are all secretly worth different values that are hidden underneath them, and they all start on this island in the center of the board. And as the game goes along, the island disappears. So bits of it will start sinking into the water. And your objective is trying to get your meeples off to the safe areas, the safe land areas. And the higher the values of meeples will actually score you more points. So it's kind of a memory game and a strategy game built into one. You're trying to remember which ones of your meeples have the most points on them because they're the ones you want to protect and try and get them off the island. And while you're doing that, everybody else is trying to ruin your plans. Because on your turn, you get to control your meeples and you get to do a number of actions with your meeples, but then you also get to control the sea monsters, which can eat boats, and sharks, which can eat swimmers while they're trying to, if their boat has been destroyed by a sea monster and now they're trying to swim to the shore. So yeah, you do. It's good fun. It is take thatty. So if you do really not enjoy that sort of thing, it's pretty brutal in terms of do you get to take people out. But, in a family environment where I'm usually the one that everyone's ganging up on anyway, I find that a lot of fun. And the kids enjoy it. And, yeah, it's a good time. So
it's funny you say that because those sort of family games that are a bit take-thatty are usually off limits for us because most times when we play games in our family, it's after dinner and the boys are usually already a little bit tired anyway. Yeah. And Ollie does not take well to when things don't go his way because of someone else. So that would probably be, if it was a family game for us, it'd be a weekend game when everyone's like, okay, yeah, let's have some fun. But at the end of the night, he gets very teary if something doesn't go his way. So I think I might have to avoid that one until he's a bit older.
Yeah. We play with the there's a Squids and Dolphins expansion, I think, because I think it's the base game plays at 4, but with a family of 5, the extra expansion provides that ability to play up to 5 or 6 players. So yeah, it gets wild at that player count because there's just so much stuff on the board, and squids and dolphins come into it as well. I'm pretty sure it's squids and dolphins. Yeah, it is. Because
you can ride the dolphin, can't you? Is that what you can do, kind of like the boat?
Well, in the base game, there's a tile for the dolphins that says that you can hold onto the dolphin, you can move further, like more squares than usual. But in the expansion, there's actual little pieces for the dolphins, and they will protect you from sharks.
Yeah.
So you can hang on to the dolphins and move around, but it means that, if a shark comes into that spot, your particular little meeple will be safe. So they become pretty valuable, the dolphins.
We have this like meta in the family where we're so untrusting of each other pretty much because what we'll do is we'll almost try and make people think that this is my highest numbered meeple and I'm going to try and get this to safety the fastest. But in the end, you're trying to goad everyone else into getting rid of that meeple and focusing on that one so that you can get your actual highest one to the safe zone as well. So there's this whole I don't believe you, all that type of stuff going on. And there's even a bit of bargaining. Look, if you don't go for this one, I'll make sure that one gets to there or whatever. And of course, we just stab each other in the back. So that's just this. But yeah, it's a real classic. And I reckon I watched it. Did they play it on Tabletop, the one with Will Wheaton? I think they played it on that, and that's where I first saw it. And yeah, it looked pretty silly, and it's been good. So yeah, that was Survive Escape from Atlantis, a good family game. Just to finish off our little chat to start with, last week for the Fired Up segment, I mentioned we're playing another session, I should say, of Dungeons & Dragons run by our buddy Mark, and that was last night, and it was a late night, which is fine because it was Friday. But this time it was still myself, Locke, and Tom, but we're joined by Joe and by Matt. And we didn't play the same characters, obviously, because we had new people coming in. It was still a one-shot. And this time we ventured to a sunken ship. And we're looking
You just walk there? Did you just walk there? Did you? Or?
No. We ended up diving into the sunken ship. So this is something that I am becoming more and more in love with role playing in this universe. Like as each time goes on, each time I do it, and I still fondly remember Mitch and Dan would too. Our ill-fated D&D campaign that we started all that time ago, and I think I was even talking about it with Jules last week, with Joe as well. But this has been so much fun, and it's so silly, and it's just great effectively hanging out with some of your good friends and just playing pretend. Like that's been my favorite part of all this. Joe played a swashbuckler he reminded me of the one of the main characters from Tangled, and he even had this bit that was like, I bet you're wondering how I got here, like how he did it, like how that happens with Tangled. So he was a swashbuckler, and it was just typical Joe, like over the top sort of, just a bit of carry on. Tom was a turtle samurai, so he was like a Ninja Turtle. It was a race that I wasn't familiar with, but it was really cool. Matt was a half elf, half dragon sorceress, ice sorceress. That was pretty cool. Locke was a druid with a squid companion called Squineth, something like that. And I played a dragon paladin who, because I knew that we were going to do this sunken adventure, I told Mark that my secret was that I was afraid of drowning. And he goes, "Oh, that is perfect. We know that you're going to be going underwater, so this is going to play out." So anyway, so we had all this stuff going on. Like we did stuff like we saved a puppy. But the big test was trying to get my character off the boat and into the water because I was so keen not to go in the water. I was so scared of drowning. So they tried everything. So Joe tried pushing me. He failed the test to push me. What else did they do? Tom tried to like be kind and like said and let me take his hand, but I pushed him in the water and still. But what got me into the boat was a Matt cast Ray of Frost. So he made the ground icy. And then because it was icy, Locke then was able to take my legs out, and I slid off the boat into the water. And then the adventure was there to continue. But like it's just like I said last week, and I feel like it sounds like I'm sort of talking him up a bit. But Mark again did such a great job, and I had so much fun playing it with some different people. Is awesome because you just get a different experience each time. So again, if you can get onto one of these, Mark is still going to run them. So if you can, sign up to one of these if you're interested on our Discord. It is so much fun. We've even got, if you're at the Melbourne Game Day, we've got Joe running some one-shots for the day. So that's going to be one-shot. So I do apologize, one-shot, which is going to be so much fun. Just I had played Baldur's Gate with Joe before. I hadn't played D&D, and if he brings the energy that he brought last night to his DMing, you will have the best time. So please sign up, go to Aftergame and sign up for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I just thought I'd give people an update because I had a few people get in touch with me and just say, "Oh, it sounded really fun," and I think that. If you sign up for these, you're going to have a blast. And I think Joe's might have said that he would like to run a one shot for us at some point. I don't know if you knew that.
Down, just 100%.
On the one that you played last night, I was going to ask, how long did you play for? But also, did you come with ready-made characters, or did you spend time last night creating the characters first before you launched into it?
So we effectively made up our own characters, but we did it prior. So Mark sort of sent out the synopsis, generally like of what the main adventure was going to be about, and then we just made our own characters and just checked that things were okay. We played for a while. We started late, so we probably started about 8:45, and we played just about till 2:00 in the morning. So it was a bit longer. It was mad fun. And then I think Mark could kind of sense that we were fading a bit, and he goes, "You're almost at the end here, lads." And I kind of said, "Oh, I want to keep playing." And Tom's like, "Yeah, me too." So we're happy doing that. And, but it is it's fun building your own character. It can be daunting. Mitch, you can talk about this a bit more, I suppose, because you've got vastly more experience than me. But building a character and then playing that character is most of the fun, I think.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Although there is something to be said, like as Dan said, like when I used to play it more often, like we used to play it weekly with my old RPG group, we would have the first session would just be character creation. You would just spend the entire first session going through building your characters. So it's as fun as it is, it's time consuming as well. And if you're going to do a one shot, then it may not even be viable to go through the whole character creation process, unless, as you said, Conor, you can do it in advance or it's pre-work that you're going to bring to the session. So I think that if you are doing a one shot or something like that, then having pre-gen characters that you can go, here you go, these are ready to go, take 10 minutes to read over them, get an idea about how you want the character to be, that sort of stuff, is definitely handy in terms of just from a practical perspective. But yeah, building your character and having, when you're playing long-term campaigns, I think that's part of the draw for me is you really kind of become invested in that character because it's almost been with you that whole time. You've built it as you go along, as you level up and choose new traits and abilities and whatever else, it kind of molds into this thing that you're sort of building as you go. And I think that's part of, the draw for me.
Have you got any memories of a favourite character that you created once upon a time, Mitch?
Yeah, 100% I do. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, a character, some of my old friends are listening, called Eben, who was I believe he was a half-elf monk. And that was 3.0 edition, which I think was the first that actually had the monk class in it. Yeah, so he was what they call it, hand-to-hand combat, fighting style. And yeah, I think I leveled that character to about 16, 17, which probably took us solid year or so, playing every couple of weeks. I think we used to play every fortnight. So yeah, you do kind of, that sort of time frame, you do kind of get pretty invested in the character. And yeah, it was good. But I think I've still got it lying around somewhere. If I pulled out all my old D&D books and had a look through my old notes, I think I've still got my sheet there somewhere with him in it. But he's the one that's definitely sneaks out.
What kind of notes would you have kept outside of the character sheet? Do you have notes of the adventures and stuff that you went on?
And just like, when you're playing for that long, you'd write stuff in. So there was like your note section in the back. So we used to like write a paragraph of sort of backstory before we get started. And then as things happen that sort of can influence your character, I used to make notes about it so that I remember, this happened and this happened and this is kind of, developed a trait or maybe a flaw, maybe developed a fear, like Conor was talking about, that you might then carry on with you as the character goes and grows. So yeah, so I think, probably about 5 or 6 pages is what Eben probably is that we developed over the years of playing. So
it's amazing. I've never really, outside of what we dabbled with on the pod, I've never ever played it. So yeah, it's always appealed to me.
Mark did mention he has been playing your.
Did he?
Yes, he did mention that to me last night. So your solo role playing.
That's amazing.
He said he really enjoyed it and all that stuff. So yeah, another little plug for you.
Yeah, I'm going to actually throw it up on itch.io probably this weekend or next weekend, just for free download, and happy to share the link for anyone who wants it. Just a little thing that I created that I thought I'd have some fun with.
No, I reckon that's grouse, as the kids used to say. Yeah. All right, we'll get into our sizzles now. I know, Mitch, you had been hanging out for this game. You even got a family member involved, so you made sure that it got into your house safely.
I did. That was an interesting story. So I've been waiting on this for a while, and I backed basically everything that there was available for it in the Kickstarter. The game is Lords of Vegas, which was printed a while ago. I can't remember. I think it was Mayday Games, can't remember who originally printed it. But essentially, it went out of print. It became the hottest game on the market because you just could not get it anywhere. People were selling it for hundreds of dollars. It was ridiculous prices. And then they another company, Loan Shark Games, decided that they built the license for it, and they took over and ran another Kickstarter to get it going. And I was straight on board. I was like, I have to have this game, and I'm buying everything I can for it, because if it's ever not available, I'll regret not getting it. So I got to get everything. And I did that. And it recently fulfilled. So it fulfilled last week. And it was I received the notification for it. And then it just so happened 90% of the time, someone is home at my house. If I'm working, it's usually a day that my wife is working from home, or if we're both working away from the house, my eldest son, who's in his 20s, he'll be home because he probably isn't at university. So the chances are that the days of the week in which there isn't some sort of crossover between someone is at home is few and far between. And it just so happens that I get the shipping notification to say, your item has just been delivered on a day that we were all out of the house.
No.
And not only that, but this is at like 9:30 in the morning. And I knew I wouldn't be home until around about 7 o'clock at night. So I'm like, earliest of my other kids would get home at about 4:30, 5 o'clock. I'm like, there's going to be a large box sitting on my front doorstep for that many hours. I'm like, no, I just know this is bad news. It's not going to end well. If Porch Pirate comes past and takes that game I've been hanging out for, it's my grail game, I'll be devastated. Life won't be worth living. So I went into scramble mode. And I ended up calling my mum, and I said, where are you today? She said, I'm just about to drive past your house, actually. I said, you beauty. Perfect. So I said, any chance you can stop in? And of course, she has a key to her house as well, so it just worked out perfectly. She was like, not a problem. So within 20 minutes, half an hour, she'd arrived, put my boxes inside, and she even unboxed it for me and took some photos to say, just, this is what it is, and it's all right. I'm like, that's so good. So yeah, so I got it safely, and it is everything that I wanted it to be and more. It's Lords of Vegas. I'll start, before I go into it, I will start by saying, if you don't like Take That, don't buy this game. If you don't like randomness in games, don't buy this game. This game is not for you if you're either of those two people. But if you enjoy raucous fun, frivolity, laughing, craziness, this game is yours. It's brilliant. It's so good. I've already started thinking, man, this game is definitely going to enter my top 10 some place.
Wow.
This year, 100%. There's no doubt. The only question is, how high will it go? Because it's brilliant. And so we got it, and I thought, it's not super complex. Like, it's definitely a game that my family at teenage up are going to be able to play. We played a 5-player game the other day. Everybody enjoyed it. Yeah, what you're doing in Lords of Vegas is you're essentially, it's not unlike Monopoly. If anyone was out there that was like, I like Monopoly. It was a game that I played as a kid. I like the whole buying properties, building up your properties, that sort of stuff. I would say, if you're a Monopoly fan looking for something like Monopoly but is better and in the modern board game category, this is the game. Because the board is Las Vegas, and the center road down the middle of the board is the Strip, which is the most profitable areas, obviously, because they're on the Strip. And then you've got a couple of building blocks back from the Strip as well. And as they move further away from the Strip, they're less valuable. But you're building casinos onto spaces that are allocated to you. I won't go into the very specific details of the mechanics, but it's not hard. It's difficult. You draw cards and it allocates you parking lots. And then when you have enough money, you can spend to develop that lot. You can build a casino on there. And then the casinos, you put a dice into the casino, your colored dice, to indicate that you're the owner of that casino. And the value on the dice, the higher the better. It's more, you're stronger if you're a high value on your dice. You're the casino boss. But then you can expand. So if you have a casino that's gold and you build another gold casino next to it, now that becomes one casino. Everything adjacent that's touching it that's the same color comes one casino. So it's still one casino, but it's 2 squares big. And if you are not the original owner of that casino, you still put your dice in there. Now you kind of both share in the casino. But whoever's dice value is the highest is the casino boss. So even though you'll both profit from the money that comes in based on the value of your dice on that casino when those casinos pay out, the person who has the highest dice in that casino will score the victory points for it. They score points for it when those casinos pay out. So you not only are trying to grow and build these big casinos, but you want to be the highest value dice in those casinos. If possible, you want to have as many of your own dice as possible, but it's not necessarily a bad thing if other people own shares in your casino, but you want to be the highest number so you're the boss, because otherwise you don't score any points for that casino when it pays out. Now, the thing is, you can do, like, they call it redeveloping, where you can change the color of the casino. If you've got a gold casino and turn them all to, say, green, for example, because maybe all the yellows have already paid out. You think the probability of yellow paying out from now on is going to be low. So there's hardly any green casinos have paid out. I'll change the color to green. So there's a remodeling, I think they call it, when you change it from yellow to green. And then there's restructuring, I think it is, or reorganizing. Reorganizing is what it is, where you take all the dice that are in the casino, regardless of color, and you re-roll them all. So on the die roll, you may be the boss taking all the points from that casino, but someone decides to reorganize the casino. They roll the dice, they get the higher dice. They're now the casino boss, and you're no longer getting any points. They've essentially just stolen the casino out from you.
That's cool.
It is cool, and it's not entirely random either, because you could have, if you have one die in a 5-square casino, then you don't have a very good chance. But if you've managed it so that you have, say, 3 or 4 of the die out of the 5, then it costs more money for the person to do the reorganizing in the first place. But it also, you've got the probability that you'll get the highest number because you're rolling 4 dice to their 1. So there is that kind of strategy of trying to make sure, well, I want to have as many dice as I can in this casino. I don't want to be the guy who's the 1 dice and someone else is 4. That said, and my daughter Layla will tell you how effective it is just to have 1 dice in everyone's casino.
Always. There's always one.
About 3 times in the game we played, someone decided, I'm going to rearrange this casino, reorganize the casino, and I'm going to pay, because you pay for every pip that's showing in that casino. So if everybody has high numbers, it's much more expensive to reorganize the casino. Whereas everyone has 1s and 2s, it's cheaper to organize the casino, reorganize the casino. 3 times, Layla was 1 dice in a 4 or bigger casino, and she hit a 6 every time. So she was the boss of 3 casinos in which she was the minority owner. And Brad, I think, owned 2 out of those 4, and he was livid. I think at one point he actually owned the casino. He was the casino boss, but he wanted to increase the value in the dice that he had in there, and he had the majority of them because the higher values, it makes it safer, but it also gets you more money when the casino pays out too if the higher values are there. So he was trying to reorganize the casino in order to increase his profitability out of the casino, and it just went all balls up for him, and Layla ended up taking the casino over as the boss, and he was out of the running. So he was gutted. She thought it was hilarious. And
as she should.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a lot of fun. It's such a great game. I would play it any day of the week, any time of the day. It's brilliant. It ran a bit long at 5. I think it was 2.5 to 3 hours.
What is the end game trigger?
There's a card that comes out. So basically the way that you determine what casinos pay out is there's a stack of cards, and for every different color of casino, there are 9 cards for each casino. And they're shuffled into a deck, and it's kind of one of those mechanics where there's a card that says this is the end of the game, and it goes into the bottom. So 3/4 of the cards are above and 1/4 of the cards are below, but you don't know which ones are below. Mm-hmm. So there are always going to be some of those cards that won't come out because the end game card will come out first. And it's unknown information. You're not sure which ones will come out and which ones won't. So when at the start of every turn you turn over one of these cards from the deck, it'll be one of the casinos or one of the lots on the board, and that color casino will pay out and score points. So you're trying to own the casinos that are going to pay out. So once you see that, okay, this color casino has 5 of those cards have been drawn out, whereas say if you've got 5 yellow cards have been drawn out, but there's only 1 green, well then next time you build a casino, you might go, well, I won't build yellow because there's a lower probability that that's going to pay out more. The green will probably pay out more because not many of those greens are cards that come out. So there's definitely strategy in it. There's definitely some thinking to be done and planning and how you're going to build your casinos and what colors you're going to use, where are you going to build your casinos, because someone else might have a casino there and building that color, might be risky. You might intentionally build a different colored casino adjacent to someone, reorganize it so you can get a high value like a 6 or a 5. And then once you have a very high number, remodel your casino to their color so that you instantly take over their casino with the higher value. So there's different strategies to play out. But it's just a lot of fun. It's not difficult. The Kickstarter that I got when I got all the extras, there are a whole bunch of expansions in it. There's an expansion called Up, which was originally available as well in the last printing, where it allows you to put tiles underneath your casinos and build them up instead of out. So, kind of like Skyrisey, which lets you score more points for them but not more money. There's a expansion called Underworld, I think, where essentially it just introduces cards that give you additional powers and abilities, like things like, discard this card to pay 1 million less next time you develop a plot, or those sorts of things. So that's there as well. But what they've done in this Kickstarter campaign that I'm really keen to get into, I haven't done it yet because I wanted to get everybody used to playing the base game first, is that they have new regions. So they've got an Atlantic City version. They've got a New Orleans version where some of your casinos are on riverboats that move up and down the board in different places. They have a Reno version, which is like the little Vegas type thing, which adds some different ways and different mechanics to the game. And they have a Tombstone version, which, if anyone knows me, I can't wait. To get into the Tombstone version. Gambling in casinos in the Wild West, I'm like, yeah, where do I sign? This is phenomenal.
Can you be Wyatt Earp? Please tell me you can be Wyatt Earp.
I don't think you can be Wyatt Earp, but he's in the game. So Wyatt Earp's in the game, Doc Holliday's in the game. They have spaces on the board where they actually give you bonuses, if you've got them as well. So yeah, it's there. And in the Tombstone version, there's lots that can be disputed, and
sure, right.
if there's a dispute that happens, a showdown as they call it, you're all dealt at the start of the game a 5-hand poker hand. So then you reveal if there's a showdown, you reveal your poker hands to win that particular lot of people. So I can't wait. It's phenomenal. I don't know if you guys have ever played it, but it's an absolute cracker. I am taking this to every game day I ever attend from here on until the end of eternity. I've already spoken to Manny and a couple of guys in the community about the Sydney game day. I'm like, absolutely, Lords of Vegas is on. It's going to be a cracker. It's, as I said before, it's not a matter of where it is in my top 10. It's just a matter of how high it gets.
Wow, big call.
I have played this. I can't remember whose copy I played, but it must have been the older copy because I haven't seen the new one. What struck me is the fact that there's the gambling involved and it's Lords of Vegas. Like it's so clever, right? It could have been anything. It could have been, you roll the dice and you take over, or it could have been the mafia, but it's not. It's Vegas, and you are gambling. Like you said, you could have been like Layla and had the one in there. That's your gamble. That's your gamble. Put the one in there, and it's paid out. Like, right? It's that whole concept of Vegas is a fickle mistress, right? You could be on top of the world one day, and then it's gone. Dan, you know this. You've worked in casinos in Melbourne. You've seen.
Never tell me the odds.
Yeah, exactly right. Don't tell me the odds. Thanks, Han. But I can't wait to play it again. I think a fresh lick of paint is exactly what it needs. And maybe I'll make my way to Sydney for the next game day so I can.
I'll meet you there.
I will say as well, it's kind of a tangent, still to do with Lords of Vegas.
And now we have Mitch opening the box. And
in the expansion for the New Orleans version, where I mentioned that they have the riverboats that are casinos, they have the biggest, chunkiest wooden components for the riverboats that I have ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen anything bigger and chunkier than this in a board game.
That's like a doorstop.
Yeah.
It's like a doorstop. It's almost as like it almost is like half the length of my entire hand. It's huge, and I mean it has to be because there's a hollowed out section
inside,
here.
Are you?
The dice sit in the middle here, so there's a number of dice that sit in the middle. It's kind of like a dual layer sort of punch board, but in a chunky wood piece. And then the boss of the casino sits in this section here, which is at the top. So for those that are listening, there's these cutouts in the front. There's cutouts in the front of the wooden component. It's huge. It's chunky. The componentry in this game is absolutely top tier. They've cut corners nowhere. It's amazing production. This game is just ticking boxes all over the place. I love it. I love it. It's my favoritist. It's favoritist game that I've received in a long time.
Oh man, can we get that on the box? Mitch from the Board Games Barbecue, favoritist game in a long time.
Favoritist game in a long time.
Not only do we not care who this guy is, he can't even speak English properly. So
exactly.
Let's put it on the board.
Don't spell check that.
Don't spell check it. Don't do grammar check favorites. So that is Laws of Vegas by Lone Shark Games, the new version. So yeah, I'm excited to play this. Dan, can you tell us, when I saw this game, I was like, this is straight up Dan's alley. So the guy who made it to what it is bang on.
No kidding. And it's quite a departure for Ryan Courtney as well. Ryan Courtney we know from Pipeline and Trailblazers and connecting things, and he has actually created a cracker. I won't bury the lead, I'll put it right up front, an absolute cracker of a deduction game called Spectral. And a big thank you to Bitewing Games as well for donating a copy to us for the library, which I will actually be teaching at the Melbourne Game Day next weekend as well. So there's still spots available for both of those. But Spectral is a game where you play competitively. You're playing treasure hunters trying to locate treasures in a haunted mansion, and the mansion itself consists of a 4x4 grid of these tiles, these cards that you place face down, and you mix them up at the start of the game, and you have a series of, you play a team of treasure hunters, and you've got these little wooden tokens which represent various teams that you can send into the house, and you're basically locking down a hallway that is adjacent to two rooms. And when you place a team down, which might consist of a team of one, team of two, or a team of four, then you get to have a sneak peek at one of the cards on either side of the hallway. So not both, but just one of them. And what the cards do is the cards will actually give you a clue as to a different room in the house. So it won't actually give you a clue as to what room you're getting the clue from, but it will tell you one of two things. It will tell you a location of a treasure, or it will tell you the location of a curse. And I'll come back to the curses in a minute, but the four different ways that it will actually tell you the location is it will tell you if there is a treasure 2 rooms diagonally from where you are. It will tell you if there's a treasure, the mirror image of where you are in terms of in the house. So if you're in the very the top of the house, if you imagine a 4x4 grid and you're in the very top left corner, the bottom left corner will be a treasure, because that's what it's saying. If you imagine the horizon right in the middle, a horizontal line, you just flip it into mirror image. And the other one is if it's actually circular. So if you imagine a clockwise circle around the outer ring, or if the central 4. So the key, and it's one of the hardest parts to wrap your head around the game, is the room you're looking in for the clue is not actually telling you what's in that room. It's telling you what's in a different room. And the reason that's important is because later in the game, you might set a team into a hallway because there's a treasure in one of the rooms next to that hallway. And then later in the game, find out that same room also has a curse in it. And now you won't actually get that treasure. Because at the very end of the game, once everyone has passed, you flip over every single room and you reveal all the clues in the house, and you put these tokens, and the deluxe version has these really sweet little, almost like gemstones, and you place where all the treasures are in the house, and you place where all the curses are in the house. And if you've placed a team in a hallway that is next to a cursed room, that team gets removed from the game. And there's only ever going to be a maximum of four cursed rooms out of 16. It may be that the room, a single room, is cursed twice. So in which case there'll just be less cursed rooms in the actual mansion. And then once all the cursed team members have been removed from the game, all the teams that are left get to divvy up the treasure that's actually in the mansion. And so the way that works is because you're locking down a hallway, if the 4 central rooms are technically surrounded by 4 hallways, most of the other rooms are only surrounded by 2 or 3 hallways. So if you have a team, let's say there's 4 different hallways in one of the central rooms and you've got 2 teams, the other person's got 2 teams, then you divvy up, you split it evenly. If you've got 1 team and they've got 3, then you will get a quarter of the total treasure that's in that room, and they'll get 3/4 of it. Every treasure is worth 12, so 12 can be divisible by 1, 2, 3, or 4. If there happens to be 2 treasures in there, then there's 24 points in that room, and you divide it up amongst whoever the teams are. On your turn, what you're doing is you place a team in a hallway and look at one of the clues on either side, or you pass. It might be that you've pretty much put most of your team members out. You know there's some hallways that are available, but they're next to cursed rooms, so you certainly don't want to bother putting a team there. And once everyone passes, the game is over. The other kicker is that because you've got 9 tokens, some of them are just a single team, some of them are double team, some of them are 4, you can place a team member that is double what is already in that hallway, and you bounce them out. So if Mitch has actually put a team of 2 in a hallway because there's a treasure in that adjacent room, I can put a team of 4 in that hallway and give those 2 team members back to Mitch. Or I can put a 1 and a 2 together and make a team of 3. So if you want to kick me out of that hallway, you've got to put 6 in there now. So as everyone starts to work out this hidden information, and people are working at different rates. Like when I played Jen, she knew things about certain areas of the mansion that I didn't know. So I was putting something down, looking at the clue in that room, and Jen was kind of sniggering to herself because she knew that I put it there because there was a treasure on one side of the hallway that we both knew, but on the other side there was a curse in that room and I didn't realize. So at the end of the game, those 4 team members that I put in that hallway are worth nothing. They get bumped out of the game and I couldn't use them to claim any treasure. So it's really interesting the way the game plays out because everyone has different amounts of information, and you might know of it. You might learn of a treasure before someone else does. So if you put team member there, but if you only put maybe 1 or 2 team members to lock up that hallway, and then later in the game they discover that there's a treasure in that same room, they can actually bump you out by putting more team members in. You can also be a bit tricky and maybe put 2 team members thinking that's a really juicy room, and then they might not have uncovered what's in there, but they think, okay, well, he's obviously going in that hallway for a reason, so I'm going to bump him out and put more team members there, and you kind of stitch him up because that room is cursed. It's just super, super clever. It's probably one of my favorite deduction games because there is a lot going on. It requires a lot of annotation. You get like a notebook, and it's funny because it plays up to 5 players, which I think would be absolute anarchy. I'm going to be teaching it with 4 at the game day, but every team gets their own notebook, and there is quite a lot of annotating because you're basically writing 2 things down. You're writing down what clue you got from that room, but also what that relates to in a different room in the house, whether it's a treasure in that room or whether it's a curse in that room. And the way the cards are laid out, there's 4 A cards, 4 B cards, 4 C, and 4 D, and they're placed at random, but random in the same row. So the top row will always be all A's or all B cards or all C cards. And that is actually written in the notebook as well. So if you know what 3 of the 4 A cards are, you can deduce what the 4th one is without having to flip that card over. You know what it's going to be, which then you know what it relates to in terms of the house. So there is some deduction you can do on your own. There's certain things that there's an easy way of kickstarting the game, in which case you actually the central 4 rooms, you flip those cards open for everyone to see at the start of the game. So there's some open information for everyone. But I think the better way to play it, and the way that we've enjoyed playing it, is to start with everything face down and just having a crack, and just there's a couple of times we go, I know something you don't know, and that's probably our favorite parts of these kind of social deduction games. Well, these deduction games, just having some information that no one else at the table has, and how can you use it to your advantage before they inevitably find out that information as well? Can you put a strong team in that hallway so you can secure your part of the treasure at the very least before they go, oh, there's treasure there, I've got to get a team there quickly before there's no spots left. And I would imagine, we've only played it at 2, and I would imagine playing it at 3 or 4 spots, if there's some really cool treasure, it could end up being that there's a room or 2 that has multiple treasures in there. You want to really shore up those locations, and with enough team members that no one else can bounce you out as well before the end of the game. But we've had a lot of fun with this game. It's Spectral from Bitewing Games.
So in terms of, I'm just sort of looking at it now. So this version that they've got, I don't know if it's the version you got. There's the 4 neoprene mats.
The deluxe version comes with neoprene mats. It comes with the gems. It comes with sleeves for the actual cards. But it's just the base game. It's completely fine it works great as a game.
So when you put the cards out, there's obviously an order that you put them out in. It's not random.
Yeah, so there's 4 cards that are labelled A, 4 that are B, 4 that are C, and 4 that are D. You shuffle them amongst themselves, but then you must put all of one type in a particular row across.
Okay, yeah.
So you don't have to put A across the top, then B, then C. You shuffle them and you randomise them so you don't know what you're putting, but you must put all 4 of that one set across from left to right.
Yeah.
So that when you do uncover 3 of the 4 in a particular row, you can deduce what the last one is. You potentially uncover know what 2 of those clues are, and work out one of 4 things that the other 2 clues will be telling you.
Yeah, because I was wondering, I was like, if it's a setup, they would have to have lots of setups to for it to stay fresh.
To be honest, that's a really clever way of doing it too. So, for instance, an example is one of the cards will tell you that there is a treasure 2 diagonal spaces away from this particular room. So no matter what room that card is in on a 4x4 grid, it's only going to be referring to one room. If that card was in the top left corner, let's say A1, for instance, then the room that is 2 diagonal away from that is going to be C3. So no matter where that card is in the 4x4 grid, it's only going to be referring to a single room in the grid. So in that respect, when you do shuffle the cards and lay it out randomly, it's completely random every single time. There's no set way where I know where the treasure. I've played this one before. I know where the treasures are. Sort of It's different every time, and it's just amazing.
I got to say, me being entirely shallow. I was just hooked by the cover of the box. I was like, "Oh, this looks awesome."
Yeah. The artwork is great.
I don't know what the game is. I don't know what it's about, but looks cool as.
Yeah, you're basically venturing into a haunted house, and the notebooks have names for the teams. I was something Aces. Jen has been playing. She's playing green, and it was some sort of I don't know. But imagine, just think of those. Sort of reality shows where you've got those ghost hunters and mythbusters that go into haunted houses. Yeah, each player has a name of your team, and you're sending them out. And we're going to investigate this hallway with my team of 2. Well, I've got a team of 4, so you get out of that hallway. We're going to lock up this hallway now. So if you want this back, now you've got to put in a team of 8. So it's just really, really clever the way it's done.
Yeah, might be one to crack out at PAX maybe, Dan, if we get a chance.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, bring it along. It's a great. We've had a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to teaching at the game day just to see how it plays at 4. I am going to teach. If I only get 3, I'm more than happy to jump in and school everyone. But because I just love these deductions, and this is just another really interesting spin on spin on, and I'm really enamored with the way it works as well with the cards. So you can randomize the cards, shuffle them, place them out, and it just works every time.
Yeah, that definitely intrigues me. The fact that it works every time, doesn't matter where they go, and it'll work. Like what black magic is this? Like what?
Exactly.
Yeah. There's one pitfall that sort of plagues a lot of deduction games, and I'm not sure if it exists in this one, Dan, but I've learned that if there's the mechanism that allows one person, usually the best player in the game and the most intelligent one, to completely ruin the game for everybody else by revealing the answer too early, is that a possibility in this game?
It's not a possibility in this game.
Sounds good.
What you can do, and I've stitched myself up a few times, is discovered where there was it's hard to explain it without getting into the geography of the mansion, but we knew there was the middle 2 rooms both had treasures in them. So I've started putting all my guys around that room to try and lock it up, not knowing that there was curses on the other side of probably 3 of the 4 hallways. So at the end of the game, when we uncovered all the clues, I had to start just removing my team members because they were in the wrong hallway. So 3 of the 4 hallways I picked, and Jen was like, "Oh, okay, no worries." I actually booted one of her teams out to take it. And she just went, okay.
Fine.
And exactly. And at the end, the very first game we played, I think she smashed me. I was like 32 points, and she had like 76 or something like that points.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of the treasures, she wasn't even divvying it up. She had locked it down, and I was nowhere to be seen. So yeah, it's really, really cool. It's quite thematic in terms of trying to uncover the treasure and wandering around this haunted house, and how many team members do you send in to secure that treasure and try and stop someone else from getting in there once they find out maybe it's too late because you've gone in early. But if you go in too early and you haven't worked out what's on the other side of the hallway, that's to your detriment. So yeah, really, really enjoyed this one.
Sounds awesome. I'd be keen to give it a crack.
Yeah. Me too. I think it'd be a hoot with the right people too, especially like, going, okay, if you want to go there, that whole thing kind of like what I was talking about before. Yeah. All right. So we had two fresh, one as a with a fresh coat of paint in Lords of Vegas by Lone Shark Games and Spectral by Bitewing Games. So a couple of really cool games in that, guys. But we might move on to the news and announcements.
Transform your gaming experience with the Table Flippers. The Table Flippers specialise in handcrafted custom game tables that turn your living space into the ultimate gaming arena. Designed for style and functionality, their tables are guaranteed to elevate your game night. Visit thetableflippers.com.au to explore their stunning designs and to order your premium game table today.
So a few events coming up. In fact, we have a game day in each of our East Coast cities in chronological order. See, I can use big words, Mitch. We've got the Melbourne Game Day, the 21st of September at the Gaming Arena in Coburg. In Sydney on the 2nd of November at the Castle Hill RSL is the Sydney Board Game Barbecue Game Day. And finally, in Brisbane on the 16th of November is the Brisbane Barbecue Game Day. Head along to eventbrite.com and search for the Board Game Barbecue for those ticketed events. I believe tickets are available for all of them. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah, sure. There's still some left for Melbourne Game Day.
Yep, still some left for Melbourne. So coming around quick. So it'll be the following weekend after this episode drops. And of course, we have a save the date for PlayCon 2025, the 11th through the 13th of July. As I said last week, we're still talking about the last PlayCon across all of our episodes, and it's going to be bigger and better next year. I can only imagine the crew's doing a power of work, so I am super excited about that. So yes, save the date again. That is the 11th through the 13th of July 2025. Okay, so last week's question of the pod was, what are your thoughts on the growing popularity of tabletop role-playing games, otherwise known as RPGs, compared to traditional board games? Mitch and Dan, I feel like we kind of answered that when we had a little chat about D&D from both of you. And you obviously said that you're pretty excited about the concept of doing more, and the fact that you've made one yourself.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I don't really think of it as an RPG, but yeah, you're right. It really is, isn't it? So yeah.
And Mitch, you hate them, so I don't know.
Don't know.
Terrible.
I think I think it'd be. It's fun. It's funny because, from my perspective, obviously board games were probably around first in terms of the history of gaming. But I didn't get into board games until after RPGing. Like I was into TTRPGs more than I was into board games. So to hear the rise and rise of tabletop role playing games, I'm like, well, for me, it had already risen before. Yeah. It wasn't a catch up thing. So it's interesting. I think depending on your perspective and how you've come into the hobby, you might have a different tilt on how, like I remember we guys talking about conventions and stuff for RPGs when I was in high school. I didn't even know conventions for board games existed. So,
and
you jump on it.
You say places. The history of the board gaming, but really, aside from some of the gaming mechanics of RPGs, it's just interactive storytelling. The storytelling's been around for centuries.
That's true.
So who's to say that there weren't some variations of a role-playing game in a sort of ancient storytelling?
Well, do you remember any, Dan, back then? That was a layup.
Oh, it was a layup, wasn't it?
That was off the backboard and everything, I reckon.
All right, so shall I jump into the Facebook responses? Course. So the first we have is from James Ballingal, who is otherwise known as the Five Guys guy. Five Guys guy. So I think we should just replace, that's a silly name. Let's just replace James all the time with Five Guys guy. So Five Guys guy says, I think it's amazing that something so niche / fringe is now mainstream. I'm not sure if it's mainstream yet, Five Guys guy, but let's move on. As adults, we totally forget how to pretend until we have kids, and we do it again, but we don't tend to throw ourselves into it. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite quotes is, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. It's a good point.
It's a great point. Can I just point something out, right? So a little show called Stranger Things came out, Mitch. I don't know if you know that. The D&D was a pretty integral part of that show. Has a board, Jumanji, but Jumanji is not like an actual game.
But I don't know if you could really say either are mainstream. Mm. When you meet people and you're ice breaking, you're having a chat at a company, get together, drinks or whatever, and they say, "Oh, what do you do in your spare time?" And you go, "I tabletop role playing game." Do they go, oh, "Of course you do, because everybody does"?
No, they say, "Of course you do, because you're that type of guy." Conor. That's what they say.
Generally, with me, they just go, "Oh, that's my phone. I'm really busy. I'll see." I'm not sure if that's because I said tabletop RPGs or if that's just me, but.
I still remember the kids in E.T. playing Dungeons and Dragons at the start of that movie and going, what are they playing? That was one of my first sort of introductions to the concept of it, when one of them was a dungeon master telling a story, and went, I want to get into that action.
I think the popularity is growing.
Yeah, definitely.
And absolutely that it's, COVID was a boon for all these hobbies, but I don't know if we've crossed into mainstream yet.
Would you say, if it was to the level of video games or something like that, where
video games are mainstream? Yeah, video games are mainstream. Whatever. Anyway, I still love Five Guys guy. He's awesome. Weathervane Games says RPGs definitely scratch a different itch than board games, since they traditionally focus on the mind's eye more than physical assets. But there are a growing number of board games striving to provide that gorgeous physical product combined with huge elaborate stories that really take players somewhere. This new hybrid or RPG adjacent approach is my preferred sweet spot when designing games. I want to take that box full of stuff and have it act as a robust toolkit, not just for our paid storytellers, but for players as well, giving them the freedom to be part of that and use those tools as well. As long as the rules basket that is supporting that toolkit, it is the closest I've seen to RPG board game hybrid. He makes a good point. I think there are a lot of games coming out these days that are campaign-style stories that try to weave that storytelling RPG narrative into the board game experience. And I'm all for it. It's good fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think it adds a little bit of overhead, though, in when you have a game where, even like a campaign game, you might just want to punch out scenarios and not have to deal with that. It sort of does make it a little bit more difficult. It's like, I've got to sit down and I've got to do this sort of bookkeeping aspect or whatever. So I was a little bit conscious of some games who just sort of jam-packed a campaign mode in there or something like that. If it's well done, it's well done, and it's going to be a great game regardless. So, I'd agree to an extent.
Yeah, I think you have to have the people playing the game need to be in the mindset and prepared for that experience, because I have played some of these sort of narrative-driven campaign games with people that just want to skip the flavor text, get to the dice rolling puzzle or whatever else. It's like, well, hang on, that's kind of defeats the purpose of playing the game. We've got to read the story, and we've got to understand why we're doing this. You can't just skip that. So I think you got to go in with the right sort of mindset.
I did have a friend when we were playing Arkham Horror Living card game who didn't want to read any of the story. He's like, I don't get what we're doing. Let me just play cards. And I was like, yeah, but we need to know what we're doing, because part of in the story gives you the instructions of how you complete the next scenario. And he get in and is like, I just want to kill monsters. I was like, well, there might be monsters in this one. We might be Epic and Asylum. Anyway, that's when it gets frustrating.
Yeah. And Scott Roby says he wishes he had a jump shot like Jules Watson. Oh, hang on, no, that was from a basketball group chat. So that's a different message he sent through this week. What he said was, to each their own, but I personally have never played an RPG that doesn't make me want to quit playing it to play a board game instead. Happy to roll in a game though. So that's interesting. So that's a different take, from the other side, to say that, he's definitely leaning on the side of tabletop gaming and, not really down for the RPGs. And that's fine,
Well, that's what we want. When we put out to the community and say, what are your thoughts? We don't want people just to support the premise of the question. We're genuinely interested in people's thoughts, aren't we? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Guppy Jones in the community reached out and said, for a long time, playing RPGs was dependent on having a consistent meetup group where everyone had to commit. Board games give many the chance to play with any player count and still have fun, even solo, which be boomed more over COVID. So board games outsold them, but RPGs are definitely making a comeback. Steve Fry from the community said, I love them both, but neither is for everyone. RPGs generally require more of a time investment, but don't need as deep an understanding of the rules for most people at the table. Board games require everyone to understand how the game works before you even start. That's actually a good point. When I played D&D with my usual board game group, they didn't like it that much because they were free to do as they please, and they felt there was no structure to the game. A shame, because I really wanted to keep playing with them. That is a shame. But I'm sure you can find more people in the community, Steve.
But Mitch did touch on that before about how there is a bit of overhead to start with, and it's a big time investment for you to get that payoff of playing through a campaign. You don't always have to play to max level. You might have an agreement that we get to 10th level or something like that. But I think having the one shots is a good way to say, what does everyone want to do? Let's have it small and directed. And it did kind of, in a way, feel like we're playing a narrative board game last night as opposed to a big sprawling campaign that lots of D&D sessions are.
Mm-hmm. I want to come back to that in a minute, Conor. I'm just going to quickly read the last one from Damon Steph, who said, I was a role player first and then a board gamer. Board gamers seem to me a lot more interested in the new hotness compared to role players who can be quite nostalgic about older games. I guess that comes with the territory of games that you can finish in one sitting compared to a game that has no set end condition and can go on for years until you decide to stop playing. It can make the markets for new products versus evergreen products quite different between the two. That's an excellent point, and it goes to exactly what you were saying as well. Sometimes the fruits of your labor don't actually pay off until later campaigns because you're creating a story arc for your character, aren't you, and the way they interact with the other characters in the party as well. I was going to ask quickly, Conor, how much, going back to the game that you played on Friday night, how much of the campaign, or how much of the one-shot was interaction and role-playing versus the battling? Because I know some people, when they play, all they want to do is just roll dice and cast spells and stuff. What was the percentage in terms of the story that you guys played?
I'd probably say it was, if I remember the top of my head, we probably had about 4 or 5 battles over the course of that. So, if I said it went for about 5 hours, that's like a battle an hour. And inside that, each of those battles took maybe 15 to 20 minutes, including the final boss, I guess, if you call it that. In the previous night, we had quite a few. I feel like we had more. But it was a bit more sprawling. So this one was directed, and Mark made that comment, so this is a bit more directed, and I've added a few other things to it to sort of bulk it out, even to the point where he added a whole battle that didn't exist in his stimulus, I guess. But yeah, that's
also, that's another benefit as well. You've got the game, the GM, who can actually tailor it to what the party wants, what the group wants, as opposed to let's all play a campaign and it's structured. Like it or not, this is the way the story is going to unfold.
Yeah. It's like, I'm going to go investigate that. There's nothing there. Move back to the main bar. I think Mitch was doing that a bit with us. There's no. Just go to the fairies. Go to the fairies.
Come on. We'll ignore the old lady and keep walking. Are you sure you want to do that? You don't want to maybe just check and stop there? And
she's just an old lady. She's carrying a giant glowing gold sword, guys.
Nah, it's probably fake. Let's keep moving.
I've
got 20 pages about this sword. Can you please stop?
I do hear. So the Secret Cabal, they have an RPG one that comes out once a month, and Jamie Keegy, the guy who runs it, he's quite often said, like at times he's just gone, well, he's like screwed up all these notes and thrown away because they've just gone off on a tangent. And again, that would be a skill, and him knowing that he can make fun scenarios and things like that, which, it would take a bit of skill. So that was our last week's question of the pod. This week's new question of the pod, a little bit of a different tilt. So we're looking at game days or game nights or whatever we want to call them. So times you get together with some buddies, and sometimes they can be, we need to make sure that we're being polite and have some sort of etiquette when you're going through the rules. So we want to know. So I'm going to ask you guys first, then obviously put it out to the community. What are your top 3 board game etiquette rules for a game night, or top 3 rules of board game etiquette for a game night? Mitch, I might start with you.
Oh, that's a dangerous one, Conor, because I've been thinking about this, and I have one that I don't think has ever been discussed before, not to my knowledge, in any of the communities.
Look, I cut my toenails once on your board game. I won't do it again, I promise.
No. But it's one that I kind of have for myself, and I think it needs to be talked about a bit more. So I'm going to bring it to light. It may be controversial. I might get some haters here for this, but it's something that I'm feel pretty strongly about. I haven't really put it into words before, so it might take a little while to formulate this. But I think if someone organises the game night / get together, then that person gets priority and veto over what games get played that night. If they're providing the house, and they're providing the functionalities, I know a lot of people go, oh, we're going to so-and-so's for a game night. I'm going to bring 35 games because they're the games that I want to play. Right. And then everybody's pushing there. Oh, let's play this. Let's play that. Let's play this. Let's play that. I think that has to stop. I think the person who has the game night or is holding the function and has put the effort into organising it. Now they may very well say, hey Dan, you've got Spectral. Can you bring that over? Let's all play that. Great. But I think it happens too many times, and I know why, because we all love our games. We've all got games on our shelf of shame that we want to play. But too many times people organise the thing and then they want to bring their games and push them in to say, I want to play my game. I think if you want to play your games and you want that to be the priority, then you need to organise the day and the event and do the work. I think we need to respect the person who's actually put in the effort, has provided the venue to do the gaming, and organised the people and done all the running around, that they get first dibs and first choice over what gets played. And not necessarily all night, but at least like the first one. Well, the first game we're going to play is, this game, and then we'll talk about whatever else we can negotiate. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something for me. I do get my heckles up a little bit.
Yeah.
When you organise something and then you have a day and you walk away from it going, didn't get to play any of the games I wanted to play, and I organised that night.
I'm surprised. I've never experienced that, but I would be the same. If I'm going to organise the food, if I'm going to clear at the house and make sure that everyone's comfortable and having a good time, I'll be damned if I'm going to play a game that I don't want to play. It's never happened to me before, so I'm surprised. But if it happens out there, then yeah, I definitely think it stops now, people.
Wow, that's.
Well, I just think we need to be a little bit more considerate of all the people that we're playing games with, and to the person that's actually gone out and done the work and put in the effort and whatever. So I make it a personal thing now. And look, I don't want to criticize other people necessarily, but I have done this myself. I've been invited to game nights and days and whatever, and said, oh yeah, I've just got this game and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I'll bring that and we can play that. Because you do get excited about it. I get it. You get excited about wanting to play the things, and you don't always get opportunities to play them. So when you see one that's a chance to play that game that's been sitting on a shelf, you really love to play it, you jump at it. I'm guilty of this as well. But I think we need to be more. I'm trying to myself be more aware when someone says to me, "Hey, I'm going to have a game night. Do you want to come around?" And then I go, "Yeah, that'd be great." And they go, "What do you want to play?" I go, "You pick. It's your event. Yeah. You're organising it. You decide what you want to play, and I'll come along and I'll play it." And I don't know. I've stopped probably the last 6 to 12 months. I won't take a game to a game day or a game night unless I'm asked to bring one by the organizer.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I'd probably be like Dan in that. I think because in most cases within my groups, I've been the one with the games and running the game days. So I've had the sole call of we'll play this or we'll play that. I would hate to think if I've ever gone over to someone's house and be like, "Oh, we're playing this now." That would.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'll put out there. I think that's really rude. I'll just say that. I think it's.
I would say the hell we are.
Yeah. Never would I like either your two houses would come over and be like, "What do you mean? No, I bought this. We're playing this." So anyway, I apologize if I put people's nose out of joint, but it's very rare that I agree with Mitch. But I agree with Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, when I have game nights here, it's usually for our family friends who don't play a lot of board games, and so they know that I've already put some thought into what is. And to be honest, I sweat over what game I'm going to introduce to them. Do I bring out something we've already played before, or do I bring in something new? At what point is it? At afternoon or is it evening? Because that sometimes depends on how people are going to concentrate, what their concentration levels are going to be. And I really put a lot of thought into what game I'm going to teach them, and we're all going to enjoy. If they just suddenly rocked up and went, "Hey, I've got Frankston version of Monopoly. I thought we'd play this." I'd be like, "Put that back in the car, thank you. That's not coming out after
Frankston Monopoly. Frankston Monopoly. Every second one's go to jail, so I don't know how that works.
I am also aware that now that I've raised this point, no one will ever take up an invitation to come to a game night at my house ever again.
Which is fine, because it means you get to play more games by yourself. So
that's why I'm a solo gamer. Yeah. But anyway,
yeah.
So it's funny how this might turn into a controversial.
This could be quite a triggering question of the pod.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
I'll go with one that I think is more of a case of a modern thing than probably days gone by. I think when someone's explaining the game to you, put the phone away. I think that's fair, right?
Well, you've just used 100%. Mine up. You've just done mine.
Sorry. I
no.
Yours.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just.
Can I just take that to another level, just very quickly? That happened to me at PAX a couple of years ago. If you're being taught a game, don't fall asleep at the table.
I mean, he may have had a big night at PAX. Like, let's be honest, they're long days.
Was it Adrian?
So continue. No.
Oh.
Continue
because he's usually up at 3 a.m, so he'd probably be the first one to fall asleep.
Yeah,
well, to go on to Connor's, I was going to say, when someone's explaining the rules, even if you know the rules, shut up. Like, because I know when we explain the rules at game days or whatever, there's a lot of pressure on you as it is. If you've got someone else chiming in, or because they already know the rules, I don't need you to shortcut. I'm going to get to that part, but I've got it in my head the way that I want to actually teach to people. And also, I know if someone is keen, they're quite. But what about this? What about this? I'll get to that. But just let me get through this part first. There's nothing worse than someone who is at the table and they already know the rules, and so you have to go through it for the benefit of everyone else who doesn't know the rules, and they start chiming in and trying to help. It's like, well, you just hang on, you're just confusing things, because I wasn't going to get to that bit first. First, I want to explain the theme. I want to explain the win condition, and then I'll get down into the weeds of how everything works later. I don't need to start confusing everyone. Because now suddenly the people at the table will go, well, they're playing tennis going, sorry, who do I listen to? Who's explaining the rules here? Just, if you're not the one teaching the game, shut up and let the person who is teaching the game teach the game. It'll go a lot faster.
Dan, as in the teaching profession, we have ways of keeping the loud and know-it-all kids in this little box. We say, hey, when it comes to that time, I'll let you explain that rule. But we're just going to hold off on that. You sort of.
And I've done plenty of training. I've done, Cert 4 trainer as well. So there's certain things you can do. It's like, that's great. I'll call on you later when it comes to that. Or if I need some assistance with that, or even you'll throw them a bone and go, that's right, isn't it? Like, damn well it's right, but you're just trying to include them because they're so keen, they want to be included in the rules teach. But for the most part, just shut up. It'll go a lot quicker and we can get playing a lot quicker if you just let the teacher.
I feel like I
don't know whether we're actually doing etiquette or I'm just picking a few scabs. Now I've got some open wounds.
We can open it up to what's your biggest board game vent if you need to. And there's one time,
I've got more, but I was just thinking, you know what? I'm going to like fill up, like the community will be like, yeah, Mitch ranted about everything and there's nothing left for me to say. So I'm just going to shut up.
Between the three of us, that's our top three. So for this episode, that's the top three.
Yep, so, and I agree with all of those.
Yeah. And as per usual, it's not up to us. It's up to you guys.
Well, it should be, but it's not.
If anyone wanted to listen to us, it'd be up to these three things. But please let us know if it is a matter of us dancing, picking some scabs and opening up some old wounds because you need to. Hey, that's what we're there for. We're a support group as well as a podcast. So let us know on Facebook, on Discord, on X, and on Instagram as well. Let us know all those times when those posts go out. We'd love to hear from you, even if it is a bit of a laugh and a bit of a whinge. Hey, why not? We deserve to have one every now and again. So, speaking of our community, it would be remiss of me not to mention our patrons, without whom none of this would be going on. So thank you to our patrons. We deeply love all the time that we get to spend with you. Last week I mentioned things like the Jackbox Party Pack, which we were able to do. We've got trivia coming up soon, and of course at PAX we're going to have an event as well. So please keep an eye on your emails for that coming through. Yes, so trivia is at the end of the month, hosted by Draven, and that will be on our Discord. So thank you to Draven for that. He has been working on it for a long time, and we're very, very excited. Speaking of our Patreon, feel free to support the podcast via patreon.com/boardgamebarbecue. And like I said, you get access to exclusive podcast episodes that we record just for you and content as well, such as the trivia and our different events that go on. It is a great group of people to be part of. There are plenty of other ways to support the podcast without donating too. The easiest way is, of course, to tell your mates. You can go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating, as well as Spotify's new star rating as well. Dan is looking forward to some more reviews to read out. He hasn't got any in a while, so please drop him one. That would be amazing. It only takes a few seconds of your time, but it means the world to us. And, of course, you can join the rest of our sections of the Board Game Barbecue community by joining Facebook, the Facebook Board Game Barbecue community, and not just following the page, following us on X, on Instagram, and of course YouTube. We're uploading YouTube clips, YouTube audio as well. And of
just
course,
just on the reviews, Connor, I just had a look just now, and there is one there from Spotify. I don't know if anyone noticed it. It says here, "Great to hear Dan on the radio again. He and I were great friends when we were younger." It's from someone called Cleopatra. I'm not sure.
I miss her.
You lucky dog. So there's also a Discord community where there's always games and conversations going on. Get involved and support the show. Yeah, Discord's like my second home at the moment. I love it so much. I've got so many good buddies on there. So
one of the things I love about Discord is because we still get people joining Discord daily, and quite often they just get inundated with other people in the community going, "Hey, welcome." It's not just us going, "Oh, thanks for your support. Thanks for joining the Discord." We get other Discord members going, "Hey, what have you been playing lately? Hey, we're chatting about RPGs in the RPG channel. Come along." Or if you you've got something to crowdfund, where we've got a crowdfunding channel. It's just a great community.
And if you're looking for any of those links, they are in our show notes.
If you want to buy the latest games, there's no better place than Advent Games. They have a huge selection of games with heaps of different categories like light and fun, Euro heavyweights, or hard to find games to help you find the best fit for your game night. On top of being a great bloke and an avid gamer himself, Dean provides excellent customer service, is very responsive to questions or inquiries, and offers flat rate shipping across Australia. So to grab your games, head to adventgames.com.au. That's adventgames.com.au.
All right, so we are on to the final segment, and thus my new favourite segment of the show, and that is Fired Up. What's got us fired up? Dan's just giving me a couple of finger guns like Yosemite Sam firing in the air. Dan, because you're so excited, I'm excited about one of these games too. What's got you fired up?
I am fired up, and I want to mention it now because I'm not on for another couple of weeks, but the Anarchy and Skara Brae Garfield Games' new Kickstarter is coming out in a couple of weeks. We had Bobby Hill on the show a few months back talking about the Anarchy. It's his follow-up to Hadrian's Wall, which, as everyone knows, is in my top 5 games of all time. my biggest challenge next year is going to try and work out where the Anarchy fits, because I've been playtesting this game and I love it. The Anarchy, it's the battle between England and Normandy, set in the 1150 something around there. It shares a lot of the same DNA to Hadrian's Wall, but now when you're not just getting attacked from the central, the left, and the right like you were by the Picts in Hadrian's Wall. Now you're creating siege weapons and you're getting attacked by different types of enemies, and so you have to have different kind of defenses on your turrets and your walls and your moat and all this sort of stuff, as well as all the combo tasticity that we love from Hadrian's Wall. So I'm really, really excited about this one. There's a 20 chapter solo campaign that comes with the game as well. I don't know a lot about the Skara Brae, but I know that it's a resource management puzzle where you got to try and feed your villagers, but also you can't have too much resources, otherwise you suffer penalties for that. So both of them feature the amazing artwork by Sam Phillips. So there's a Bobby Hill game, The Anarchy. There's Shem Phillips' game, Skara Brae. For the first time, they're actually being released as a double act on Kickstarter. This is not a Garfield Games sponsored segment, by the way. I am just fired up for it, so cannot wait.
Yes, no, I'm fired up for it too. Mitch, what are you fired up about?
Well, in board gaming or just life in general? How long have you got? No, I'm fired up about. I'm not going to say too much about it, but next week's episode of the pod, we have some guests lined up. They're friends of the show. I'm not going to say who they are, but they're friends of the show. Some of my favourite guests we've had in the past, and I've always enjoyed times that we've been on with this particular guests. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Fired up for that episode. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome, or it's going to not be awesome. But either way, I'm fired up about it. But in addition to that, I'm also fired up about PAX, which is getting closer and closer and closer. And I think, with the exception of next episode, I won't then be on until after PAX. So I'm really looking forward to heading down, hanging out with everybody, you guys, for a few days in Melbourne, getting some games on and, getting about and just being involved with the community. So it's going to be an absolute cracker. I can't wait.
It's fine. We'll let you back in the state, I suppose.
I have to, submit those forms to Vic Police and get all that signed off first.
I'm just looking forward to going to a gaming event that we're not putting on.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So the pressure's off a little bit. Like, we'll still be running around. We'll still be sort of interviewing as many people as we can and talking to designers and publishers and whatnot for the pod, but just not having to worry about, is everyone having a good time? We're just making sure that we're having a good time now.
Yeah. Not a lot of organisation to do, no carton games around.
Just show up and have fun.
Yeah.
Play some games, yes. And there's a few members of our community that's going to be there too, so that's always great to catch up with them. I am excited about the Anarchy. I'm excited about PAX. I'm also excited to listen to next week's episode, but a game I'm excited about, and I blame Manny for this because I thought I'd avoided it. I thought I was in the clear. And he had to post that on last Wednesday, the pledge manager for Awaken Realms, effectively Pokemon trading card game, Dragon Eclipse was closing, and he had to put the link in there again. And I hadn't backed the game for so long, so long. And I backed it. I backed Dragon Eclipse. I got minis to go with it. Like, I don't even like minis any. Like, why did I do it? I don't know. And I just went way too over the top. So as you can tell, I am fired up about Dragon Eclipse. I can't wait till it gets. Hopefully, it gets here soon because the pledge manager is closing, and I haven't played an Awakening Realms game for a really long time. Well, actually, that's not true. I have ISS Vanguard, which is Awakening Realms. So then I'll have to play that a bit more. Maybe we can do a Patreon episode and to catch up. But I did see that maybe you were going to have a chat with a certain someone about it, who may have played a little bit as well. I don't know. That might have been an unofficial chat with
I've only just scratched the surface of ISS Vanguard. It's funny. I was just typing in Dragon Eclipse into Google as you're talking about it, and then you said minis, and I stopped typing it. It's like, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not even going to press enter on that search. I'm just going to delete the tab and forget I heard anything about it.
You get the standees have the art, so it's a bit like Oathsworn, how the standees do just as great of a job, but I already regretted not getting the mini version of Oathsworn. So I thought with Dragon Eclipse, and I think it's the second. It's gone back, so they've released this roguelite version where you can add a mode to it. So it's going to be cool. I can't wait. It's going to be fun, and so 3 really cool things to be fired up about. I can't wait to find out more. Obviously, I'll find out how PAX is going from Mitch, but in the Anarchy, I'll be following firsthand. So we'll touch back on these at a later date, maybe. But hey, boys, it's been an absolute blast hanging out with you as per usual. I've really enjoyed chatting to you for the last bit. Mitch, I'm excited for next week. It's going to be a fun podcast, I think.
I hope so. I've got some plans, some ideas, and, knowing who it is, it's always just a wicked conversation. There may not be a lot of gaming talked about. There may be. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But whatever happens, it's going to be cracker. It's going to be heaps of fun.
And Dan, I'll be seeing you next week.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yep, going to be good.
Melbourne game day.
Yep, new location, same crew, so should be good times.
Yeah, of course.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. Keep playing those games, and we'll talk to you again soon. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.